Hey class. So what we're going to cover today is your color line design. So I'm going to give you instructions on how to plan for it and how to choose the colors for your line design project. You'll be able to choose the colors that you want for the most part, but the goal is for us to have contrast in our design, and that's what I'll break down today. So that way you're choosing colors that can actually help you make a successful design. So right away, let's get this thing rolling. So, what are the product rules? Well, first, you must have a design with a focal point that uses at least one color. So, you must have one color in your focal point. Second, you need a background that uses two colors that are different from the focal point, and that's the key. So, your focal point and your colors in the background cannot be the same because we need your focal point to stand out. Third, the design should be balanced. So you need a design that is balanced, meaning the space is filled. So just like your previous design, we want to make sure this looks finished, and we do that by using the space. And just a heads up, you can't use black this time around because black is technically not a color, it's a value. So we want to think about the color wheel, so just that range of colors. So your design will need a clear focal point. A focal point is the part of your design or artwork that attracts your attention. So it's what you want us to see. So just a reminder, you must have a clear focal point. And you create a focal point by using contrast. Contrast is the difference between colors for you this time around or value. So your previous design had values, so black, gray, and white. This one's focusing on color. If you look at both of the images to the on the right side, the one top right has different colors, but it's hard to see the focal point. So the focal point is actually my initials, a J and the C, but it's hard for you to see that because we don't have a big enough difference. And like the image on the right, there's just too much colors or too many colors. It's too chaotic and it's hard to give us something to concentrate on and look at. So neither of these designs have a clear focal point, and we'll break down how you can create that. So your design must have at least one color. Again, it's the focal point, two colors in the background. And this design doesn't work because the colors to the focal point and background are too similar. So how can we change this design? Well, we can use analogous colors, and that's a weird sounding word, but analogous colors just means groups of colors that are adjacent or next to each other on the color wheel. So think about if you chose blue, green, and yellow, and your focal point was yellow and the background was green and blue, that would stand out. Also, if your focal point was blue and the background was green and yellow, that would still stand out because they're different enough. Purples, blues, and reds. So if your focal point was red, but the background was purple and blue, it would stand out. So the key is that one of the colors can stand out as a focal point next to the background. So they can be similar. So I know some student might want to choose like a flower and have the flower be pink and the background be red and purple. Well, that works. Even though they're similar colors, the focal point is different enough that it stands out. So analogous colors to the left are a bunch of examples for analogous color schemes that you can use. So think about, let's say if you chose like yellow, yellow, orange, and orange, even though they're all similar, uh, if you choose yellow, that's bright enough to stand out in front of yellow, orange, and orange. So that's the key, is that they're different enough. The other color scheme you can think about using is complementary. So complementary colors are colors that are opposite of each other. So something like red and green, orange and blue, or yellow and violet. And a lot of sports teams use these colors because they're different enough that one stands out next to the other. So for you Laker fans, yes, they use like a gold and a violet because they're different enough to stand out. So any colors that are opposite of each other, and it makes it easy to create contrast. So let's say, for example, if you were to choose yellow as your focal point color and then violet and red violet or violet and blue violet as the background, that yellow will stand out. And that's the key, is that your focal point stands out in front of the background. So basically what you would do is, again, if you look at this example, so this yellow is the focal point, so it's pointing towards that yellow, and you have two colors that are opposite of yellow as the background, and that level of contrast will make the focal point easy to see. If your focal point is yellow, your background is red violet, purple, and blue violet, your focal point becomes very, very clear. So you can choose whatever colors you want for a complementary color scheme, but again, as long as the colors are opposite of each other, it makes it super easy for your focal point to stand out. Another color scheme you can choose to make sure your focal point stands out is a really simple one: warm and cool colors. So warm colors are similar to sunlight, cool colors are similar to moonlight. So if you choose bright colors next to darker colors, aka warm and cool, it makes it super easy for your focal point to stand out. So if you choose a warm color for your focal point and a cool colors for your background, it will make sure your focal point stands out because they're so different. So if you look at this design top left, the focal point, so these curvy lines use warm colors, and then the background lines use cool colors, and it makes it super easy to see that focal point, that warm focal point, in front of the cool background colors, and that's the key. So we want to make sure that we have different colors. So which one did I choose for my line design? So remember, you saw it originally had a bunch of cool colors, which made it hard for it to see the design. So what I ended up choosing was warm and cool. So the bright orange is very easy to see in front of the blue and violet. This creates a design with a clear focal point due to color contrast. So we want to use color contrast, so using colors to make sure our focal point stands out. Again, you cannot use black and gray and white. We're not relying on those. If you want to use a little white to break up the space, that's okay, but we're not relying on black and gray this time around. We're only focusing on colors, and that's really what the focus is. So how you can use colors to create contrast, because that's a skill you want to be able to do too as well. So you go throughout the semester when we're making cool images, we will eventually create color images, and color contrast is the key. All right, so for your design, your focal point can be whatever you want, just like the last design. So if you want to use your initials, if you want to make a character, a logo, a symbol, shapes, whatever you want, just make sure the colors stand out in front of the background. However, for the background lines, we want to use straight lines only. So vertical, diagonal, and horizontal. Again, vertical, diagonal, and horizontal. So the background will incorporate straight lines, and for the focal point, you can use curved or straight. It's completely up to you. If you have questions, again, feel free to message me, but that is how you will create your color line design.